I'm Brandi Kruse. Coming up today on Undivided, we all need a safe space now and then, so we want to cordially invite you to a powerful gathering. Plus, a bill being considered in Olympia would let juvenile offenders petition for early release from prison, even if they've killed more than one person. And Washington's GOP Congressional delegation leads the way in the censure of Representative Al Green. That and much more coming up today on Undivided. Remember, you can and should support our show for just $5 a month by signing up at undividedpod.com. Hello, and welcome to Undivided. Thank you for being here for our final live show of the week. Thank you so much for your commitment to giving common sense a comeback. But look, I know that these times can be difficult. I know there's a lot of heavy topics that are sort of weighing on you. And sometimes it's just nice to be around people who feel the same way. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just nice to get in a room, like a library or something, and just gather around with people who are also finding these times so trying. So I'd like to cordially invite you to what is being characterized as a powerful event. And I'm sure that it will be. It's being hosted by the 46th District Democrats. It is titled Surviving the Moment Together. And it's actually happening this Sunday, 2 to 3:30 p.m. at the Northgate branch of the Seattle Public Library. And as they say, and as I'm sure many of you feel, our democracy is under threat. But we will not stand idly by. Together, we will stand against fascism while defending our rights, our communities, and our values. Amen. At this powerful gathering, we'll connect with advocates for vulnerable populations and organizations leading the resistance movement. Now, more than ever, unity and action are essential. And that's why everyone is invited. Right, left, center, everyone, because right now, unity is essential. And as we note on this invitation, because we are striving to create a safe space for Democrats to gather and learn together, please be selective about where you share this announcement and do not post it publicly on sites or forums. It's recommended that you invite people and provide them with this email based on personal conversations. Posting it publicly could lead to inviting unfriendly or hostile individuals. Oops. Is that mean? Am I mean?
No.
It's a public library.
It's hilarious.
We're not bad people.
No.
What if we want to sit in and see what the resistance is up to?
And who has a richer history of being hostile and obnoxious to people than the people asking people not to be hostile? And
really good question, Nicole. I have to love this sort of idea of we need a safe space where we can converse. After we just did a story on the show yesterday about how trans activists showed up to a school board meeting and shouted people down and spit on somebody and police had to come. Or yesterday when we talked on the show about how Olympia teachers are actively encouraging people to spam a tip line that allows parents and students to share their struggles or concerns with an education. Yeah, so you have the party that will not tolerate any sort of dissent. Even if you are in your own place where you should be able to speak freely, they come into those places and shout you down and spit on you and force the police to be called and call you transphobic and right-wing and all of those things. And then, God forbid, the Trump administration has a way for parents or students who aren't satisfied with the public education that they're receiving to share that feedback with the federal government. Democrats have to render the tip line absolutely useless because they can't have anyone. They can't have anyone around them who doesn't share their opinion, even if it means they have to insert themselves into places where they'll hear opinions they disagree with and then shut those meetings down. Isn't that rich? So yeah, I just thought I'd let you guys know about the 46th District Democrats surviving the moment together, where you definitely should not post about it publicly on any sort of, it didn't say podcast, it said, don't post this announcement in public spaces, sites, or forums. This isn't really a public space per se. It's a podcast. So I'm sure they'll welcome you. I'm sure they'll welcome you to listen to what they're doing on the resistance. But it's so indicative of, so there's the censure happening right now. It kind of takes me to Congress. So the whole Al Green thing. So Representative Al Green, you saw it during the State of the Union with Trump, where he stood up and shouted and waved his cane at the president.
Won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
Yeah, and then of course he wouldn't stop shouting, so he actually had to leave. And so it's just interesting. You got Democrats who are like, we want a safe space to discuss, things that are important to us and of concern. And it's like, okay. And then you have temper tantrum meltdowns on the floor of the House during the State of the Union address. So I wanted to talk about that instead of putting it down to national today, because there was actually Congressman Dan Newhouse of our state who introduced the censure into Al Green. And Nicole and I were saying, like, okay, I know maybe, I don't know if he cares to get his foot back in or his good graces back with the Trump crowd, but I thought it was very nice for him to take the lead on this and introduce the censure of Al Green.
The President of the United States, speaking at the invitation of the House and Senate, had his remarks interrupted by the representative from Texas, Mr. Green. Whereas the conduct of the representative from Texas disrupted the proceedings of the joint address and was a breach of proper conduct, and whereas after numerous disruptions, the representative from Texas had to be removed from the chamber by the Sergeant at Arms, now therefore be it resolved that Representative Al Green be censured.
And so he introduced it, and then actually one of Washington State's newest members of Congress, Congressman Mike Baumgartner, the only other Republican representing Congress for Washington State, was also kind of, I think, a co-sponsor of the censure. But he gave a speech, and he hasn't been in Congress for very long. And I thought his speech was really great. And I wanted to play a big chunk of it for you because it's sort of, it's not just about how Al Green, or any time one of these outbursts happen, and there have been outbursts from the Republicans too. This was sort of prolonged, and he wouldn't stop even when he was told to stop. And it was kind of threatening. The cane, right? He's like pointing at the president, a little bit threatening. But it's not just about how it was perceived on the floor and making Republicans mad or Democrats or whatever it is. Congressman Baumgartner talked about who he had invited to come to the State of the Union and how things like this are perceived not only on the floor, but off the floor.
Donald Trump is not the Republican president. He's the American president. And what happened last night was beneath the dignity of the House and beneath the dignity of the American people. And I say that as someone who is new to this body. I'd also like to point out how it was perceived and how it may have been interpreted. As you know, each member of the House receives a guest ticket, and I decided to give my guest ticket, the first one that I would have for this kind of occasion, to a teacher from Eastern Washington, with the goal of inspiring an interest in civics and public service in that next generation of young people. In fact, we ran a competition for students to nominate their teacher. And the winning teacher that came had never been to Washington, D.C. before, had never been to the halls of Congress, and was so excited that she was here to watch this. And I have no idea what her political beliefs were. No idea whether she's Republican or Democrat or independent. She was just excited to be here as part of this experiment in democracy that we have. And all of her students were watching from home. Let's join together and realize that this episode was beneath the dignity of what the American people expect from Congress. And let's have this be a new beginning in civility from a low point that this body can rise and behave in the manner I think all of the people, the way that all the American people wanted to behave, and certainly those high school students that were watching from home, so excited that their teacher was here to experience this special moment.
Yeah, maybe makes you think about it a little different. Like, it's more than just being annoying for the president and for Republicans. It's like you got all these people with these cool stories, and here's a teacher nominated by her students, and she's excited, and the kids are watching, and he's hoping, oh, we'll inspire civic engagement. And then they see members of Congress acting like petulant children and not standing up for kids with cancer, etc. So it's just like, always as adults, think about who's watching. So you'd think maybe that got across to some of the Democratic members, and they would join together with Republicans in condemning Al Green's behavior on the floor. They were going to join together, but not with Republicans. Here's the vote.
Yeas are 224. The nays are 198, with 2 answering present. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The House will come to order. The House will come to order. Shh.
I love the shush. Like children.
Will Representative Green present himself to the well? By its adoption of House Resolution 189, the House has resolved that Representative Al Green be censured, that Representative Al Green forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and that Representative Al Green be censured with public reading of this resolution by the Speaker. The House has come to order. The House has come to order. What's that? The House has come to order. Clear the well, please. Clear the well. The House has to continue its business. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the House will stand in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
Oh, yes, trying to censure a member for acting like a child on the floor of the House, only to be joined by almost all of your Democratic colleagues in acting like children. Very dramatic children, too, singing, "We shall overcome." Overcome what? Overcome what? One of your members getting a little slap on the wrist that virtually means nothing because they acted like a child during the State of the Union and shook their cane at the president and got escorted out. And you're so dramatic that you're all going to stand around together and sing "We shall overcome." I feel like they're really trying hard to get these like viral moments, right? But it's just viral moments that are embarrassing for them. Like there was the videos they put out, we talked about earlier this week, where they were doing that like social media video where they all recorded the same one saying shit that ain't true and talk about Donald Trump's alleged lies, etc. They're just so hungry for some sort of moment that inserts them back into like being ahead in the culture wars or whatever it is. It's just so strange to watch. I will note 10 Democrats did vote for the resolution to censure, including Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez of Washington State voted in favor of it. And look, I know the thing doesn't mean very much. And frankly, Republicans are a bunch of hypocrites as well, because when their members do something, do they in unison come out and condemn it on the floor? No, they don't. So both sides do it. But this was a particularly egregious one. I think it's different than whoever shouted like lies at Obama. And was it Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert who was the one, or did they both interrupt stuff with Biden at some point? And so it's just tacky, right? But this one was sort of threatening with the cane, and then he wouldn't stop. So anyway, everybody's children. They're all children. There are a few who get a pass from that. I'm glad Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez could at least say, yeah, because, I mean, pick your behavior. What behavior is acceptable to you? And then judge someone based off the behavior, not their political party. And we've just lost that as a country. All right, I want to talk about some legislative updates in Olympia, including a new bill we haven't discussed that might just be one of the worst ones yet. So we'll get to that and an update on unemployment benefits for striking workers. First, I've encouraged you guys to take the First Mark Challenge. FirstMarkInsurance.com, FirstMarkInsurance.com. We all need insurance. You hopefully have insurance. The question is, do you have the right insurance at the right price? Well, First Mark Insurance can help you figure that out for free. We hear so many positive reviews from undivided viewers and listeners who waited, and then finally gave in and said, okay, I'm going to take the First Mark Challenge, I guess, after Brandi says it 9,000 times. And then they're like, why did I wait so long? Eric says he finally took it. They saved him 30% on his auto policy and 70% on his homeowner's policy. I mean, we had one subscriber, Beth, who they saved her $4,000 a year. And it was like, oh my gosh, think about if you had done that sooner. You'd have so much more money to buy cool stuff or take your kids on vacation or whatever it is. So take the First Mark Challenge today. Don't wait any longer. Firstmarkinsurance.com, firstmarkinsurance.com. The very best part is they work for you. Okay, so we have a few bills that we haven't updated you on in a while, and one that we have not discussed at all that I was blindsided by, and you must know about it. So first, unemployment benefits for striking workers is still being bandied about. That's just nuts to me. They tried to do it last session. They failed by a few votes, and so they brought it back this session, literally. For workers who make the choice to go on strike, to let them utilize our state's unemployment insurance system. It's totally for the unions, obviously. It's just something that Democrats feel like they have to do, probably because the unions bankroll their campaigns. It's Senate Bill 5041. For those of you who aren't familiar, pay for striking workers. So yeah, you go on strike. Oh, good news. Don't worry about it. The one incentive the two sides have to actually come to the table for striking workers, it's like, hey, our strike fund might run out. We might have to go without pay if we continue to stay on the picket line. And for employers, it's like, hey, I need people back to work. And so there's some incentive for people to come to the table and try to work out their differences. But if the striking workers are just getting paid the whole time from you and I, and from the fund all these hardworking people pay into in the eventuality that something happens that you cannot foresee, now we're the ones paying them, so they don't have really an incentive to come to the table, and that's one less thing to be able to bring an end to a strike, particularly like, look at teachers' strikes and stuff like that, and everything that's at stake if they stay on the picket line. It's just insane. It's totally only because the unions bankroll the campaigns of Democrats. So at this point, and I've been saying this, is I'm having a hard time reading what Bob Ferguson might do. But I have a hard time thinking that if a pro-union, union-backed bill, a bill that only exists because the unions want it, gets to his desk, that he would veto it. I mean, the unions bankrolled his campaign. So as much as he's trying to act like a moderate, you really think that he'd give the big old middle finger to the unions if the House and the Senate send a bill to pay striking workers to his desk? I don't think he has the cojones. Even if he wanted to, I don't think he has the cojones for that one. So hopefully it doesn't get to that point. Even the Seattle Times editorial board is saying reject it. They put out an op-ed, reject effort to give unemployment benefits to striking workers in Washington. Now, will that do anything? I don't know, but it's not just crazy right-wing loony-toony Brandi saying it's a bad idea. Even the far-left Seattle Times editorial board said, and yes, they are far-left. They've proven that time and time again. So just like Bob Ferguson, don't be fooled by the Seattle Times ed board. But here they're saying, don't give unemployment benefits to striking workers. I mean, it really is the craziest idea when you stop and think about it, but you know what motivates it, the unions. All right, buckle up for this one. Oh my, I don't even know what kind of person sits and dreams these things up. So, we've already talked about a bill under consideration. It's, is it 1125 judicial discretion, or is that 1178? It's either 1125 or 1178. I think it's 1125. Gives judicial discretion where, let's say you're serving 30 years in prison. Your defense attorney can find some activist judge and say, I'd like to petition for early release because my sentence no longer serves the interest of justice. And so that's already going on. But of course, they need to take things even further for juveniles because juveniles know not what they do. Their brains are not fully formed, even to the age of 25. And so even if they murder people, we must take it easy on them. But this is crazy, even for Washington state Democrats. Let me introduce you to Senate Bill 5266. I'm going to read from this, and it's almost too shocking to be true, but it is. Any person convicted of one or more crimes committed prior to the person's 18th birthday may petition for early release if the person reaches the age of 24 or older, unless the person has been convicted of 3 or more murder offenses. Yes, 1 is fine, 2 is fine. 3 or more, if that's the case, it says, in which case the person may still petition after serving no less than 20 years. That's a real bill, still alive in the legislative session. That if you kill, not 1, but 2 people before the age of 18, at the age of 24, you can petition the state's Indeterminate Sentencing Review Board for an early release. And it's still okay if you killed 3 people, but you have to serve at least 20 years. Then you can come ask the board for early release. And that's not even the only benefit. And if they get early release, so let's say you've got a double murderer, killed 2 people when they were 17, and they turn 24, 2 is fine. I only killed 2 people. So now I'm going to petition the state for early release, which we know the Indeterminate Sentencing Review Board is just woke, and they'll probably grant it. So let's say you have that situation. 17-year-old serves 5 years after killing 2 people. They petition the state. They get early release. Guess who has to pay for their housing? Guess who has to pay for their housing? You do. Isn't that great? You know, it's generous. It's generous. The bill reads, the department may provide rental vouchers to a person who successfully petitions the board and is ordered to be released by the board if rental assistance will allow the petitioner to safely release. So here's all of us paying up the you-know-what for our mortgages, for our rent, scraping by. Some people working 2 jobs, working overtime, working your fingers to the bone, trying to come up with enough money to pay rent in this godforsaken place, doing nothing wrong, obeying the laws, paying taxes. You're not getting a rental voucher from the state. But you kill 2 people and petition for early release after getting a slap on the wrist. We, the taxpayers, are going to foot the bill for your rent. When does this madness stop? I mean, you know how emboldened you have to be as the Democratic majority to push bills like this? And this has gotten, it's not as if this hasn't gotten hearings. Think of all the good bills, the good public safety bills that died in committee that were never heard. And this thing's moving right along. And I always have to laugh at, there's no graphic for this, Nicole. I'm just going to read from the thing, so there's nothing to pull up. But they always start bills like this when they talk about juvenile crime and why we have to take it easy on juveniles in crime. They always started by talking about how juveniles' brains aren't fully developed. The legislature finds that lengthy sentences with little incentive for rehabilitation until decades into incarceration misses a critical development opportunity for youth at a formative time during brain development. Scientific studies have found that brain development impacting decision-making continues until age 25. So that's always their argument, is the brain isn't fully developed until 25. And these kids, even if they kill someone, kill 2 people, they don't really fully grasp the consequences of that decision-making. From the same party that's letting kids cut their breasts and penises off as young as 13, if their parents agree to it, or they can be deemed a mature minor. From the party that is simultaneously to this bill arguing to take parental rights away and give more decision-making to children. From the party, and this is a Senate bill, so from the Senate Democratic Caucus, which 25 of its 30 members just introduced a constitutional amendment that would say kids of any age can get gender reassignment surgery or abortions without parental knowledge or consent. So an 8-year-old could decide without any parental consent under that constitutional amendment supported by 25 of 30 Democratic members of the state Senate that they want their breast cut off because someone at school, probably a teacher in the Olympia school district, told them they're a boy. Yet they're in this bill talking about, well, we can't hold murderers accountable because their brain's not fully developed till the age of 25. You cannot make this stuff up. And I would love, please, any Democratic senator who's on that constitutional amendment and whose name is also on this bill. So I'm looking at the bill right now. Noel Frame, Claire Wilson, Tina Orwell, Bob Hasagawa, Twina Nobles. All of your names are on this bill and are on that constitutional amendment to say kids of any age are mature enough to consent to life-changing gender surgery. So if any of you want to come on the show and explain to me how both of those things can be true, how you can be mature enough to consent to life-changing surgeries, but you can't be mature enough to pay the consequence of killing 2 people. You guys have lost your minds. Lost your minds. Totally unbelievable. All right. Let's see here. Sorry, Nicole, my computer froze. Now it's back. Let's talk a little bit more about what's going on campuses. We talk a lot about what's happening in high schools and elementary schools and the public school system in Washington state. But, you know, the crazy continues. The crazy doesn't stop in grade school. The crazy, if you're in Washington state, you go to college, university, hell, even trade schools in Washington state, the woke indoctrination continues. Let's talk about it in our segment, Unbelievable. All right, I'm going to take you to Western Washington University, which Nicole informed me this morning is in Bellingham. Why did I think it was in Ellensburg? What is that one?
That's Central.
Oh,
makes sense.
that
right?
makes sense. Central,
Bellingham.
Western. Got it. And this also makes sense because it's in Bellingham.
Right.
So we were first alerted to this by Campus Reform. If you don't follow Campus Reform, they do great stuff on campuses and the need for reform and crazy stuff like this. And a lot of it happens to originate in Washington state. The headline, Western Washington University provides gender-affirming care, drag show auditions, and a queer studies minor. So if you have a kid who is going to Western Washington University or is thinking about going to Western Washington University, here's some things that you should think about. So they have entire sections on their website. This is the LGBTQ plus section for Western Washington University. And it starts by talking about academics. So to them, LGBTQ plus life absolutely goes hand in hand with their academic mission. They have women, gender, and sexuality studies. They have queer studies. They also have research opportunities where you would look to join a research study on LGBTQ plus people. You can check out their growing list of studies. You can also, it says, Western Washington provides rich opportunities to study topics of sexuality and gender and their intersections with race, nationality, class, ability, and other aspects of identity and experience. So look, I kind of expect that. Like gender studies, that's kind of the running joke, right? Send your kid to a liberal college and they're going to go get a minor in gender studies, and in this case, a minor in queer studies, whatever you want to do, right? You're paying for it. You're paying for it. But they take things a step further at Western Washington University. They also essentially have a concierge service where if you think you're transgender, they have everything you need at your disposal at this university to be able to get connected to doctors, to therapists, literally whatever you need, even a voice coach. Oh, yes. Even a voice coach who can, let's say you're a woman who wants to transition into a man and you want your voice to sound more masculine. They will send you to a voice coach to help you do that. They'll also help you initiate hormone therapy. And look, as I've said many times, if you're an adult and you want to be trans, why do I care? I don't care. If you're an adult and you want to see a doctor and you want to go through hormone therapy, you want to hire a voice coach to teach you how to talk in lower octaves or higher octaves, whatever your pleasure, I genuinely do not care and would not be talking about it on the show if it weren't being done through Western Washington University. And if it weren't indicative of, first of all, the reality that we need to start pulling whatever federal funds we have from any universities that go into this, because our state's never going to pull funds from them. But again, it's like our taxpayer money that goes to this stuff. So that's the only reason I care about it. And it just shows that this stuff is through and through. It is woven into the fabric of our public schools from K through 12, and then it's woven into the fabric of our public colleges and universities. And it's out of control. So you can initiate hormone therapy. They also have sections in here where you can talk about names and pronouns. It says if you'd like to change your name or pronouns in our medical record system, we can easily update your electronic medical record in either the health center or counseling and wellness center. You can also update your name or pronouns on our website. They talk about sexual and reproductive health. That's fine. I think that's appropriate for college-age kids to learn about sex if they haven't already and to get access to condoms and other such things, right? That's fine. Let's see, gender-affirming hormone therapy, mental health, voice and communication training. So all of those things. And it's just absolutely nuts. They also have some support groups, just in case you find yourself needing some support. They have an event called Trans Tea. Get that? Yeah. So you can sit around, have tea with other trans people.
So if you go to college and you don't know where you fit in, here you go.
Yeah. Like tea? Great. Yeah. You show up, have a few rounds of tea, you'll be trans before you know it. Do not send your kids to Western Washington University is the point that I'm getting at here. But it's not just Western Washington University. And look, I expect some of that stuff, like if we're talking Evergreen State College, where the future Antifa rioters of America go to study. Okay, I expect that. Western Washington University, Bellingham is essentially just Seattle politically. I expect that a little bit there as well. How about Pierce College? I got from a subscriber on X a screenshot of a homework assignment that they took at Pierce College, right? So they were doing the homework assignment was about logic, okay? So the question sounds a little weird, but keep in mind, it's about using your logic. It says, evaluate the following argument. All dogs are Republicans. Some dogs are flea bags. Therefore, some Republicans are flea bags. Is that argument not valid and not factually correct? Valid but not factually correct? Factually correct but not valid? Or is that argument sound? So this person that sent it to me said they called the teacher out. They spoke to the teacher about this. We're like mortified by it. Of course they would be. All dogs are Republicans, some dogs are flea bags, therefore some Republicans are flea bags. And at first he said the teacher tried to deny that there was a question like that. So he showed the teacher the screenshot. Yeah, there was. And then he said the teacher tried to make an excuse about, I wasn't really the one who formulated the assignment. And he kept pressing and he didn't back down. And then she's like, it was just a joke. Basically, like, couldn't get out of it. So just pretended like it was just a joke. Oh, that's so funny. I guess I missed the joke. I have a sense of humor. I don't know, calling Republicans flea bags as a college professor for really no apparent reason, couldn't come up with a better question when you're trying to teach students to use logic. Very interesting. So it's not just the ones you think are the crazy, crazy colleges and universities. This is woven throughout everything in Washington state and other progressive states, and it's going to take a very, very, very long time to unravel. All right. By the way, I heard offhand, maybe we'll play this on Monday's show, that the Olympia school board says it's proud to be the wokest school district in the nation. Because I always say that Olympia, I always say Olympia is the wokest school district in the country. And I just did, was it yesterday? The wokest school district in the country. We did a whole documentary about it. And then apparently one of them just came out and said that they're proud to be the wokest school district in the country. I'm glad you're watching the Undivided podcast. You can contribute to our numbers, that's fine. Even if you're hate watching it, that's fine. You can watch it and have a little, a voodoo doll of me that you stab repeatedly with a needle. Your views still counts towards our views, and we still make money off of it. Thank you. All right, we'll get to national news and Florida Report coming up next. First, if you're thinking about selling your home, reach out to our friend Wes Jones at sellwithwes.com, sellwithwes.com. Wes has been doing this for a long time. He has been through all the ups and downs in the market, and he knows what it takes to make sure that your home gets the attention that it deserves, let's be honest, that the listing stands out, and that you get the best possible offers. That's what everyone who sells their home wants, right? He says that, a lot of people assume right now the market is slow, but the real issue is low inventory, not low buyer demand. There's still a ton of demand out there. So he says homes that do hit the market right now are selling quickly due to that pent-up demand and the limited options. So if you have someone like Wes Jones who makes sure that your home is listed and priced correctly, that it's properly prepared for listing, those are the homes that are going the fastest and for the highest dollar. So he also noted March, so this month and May are going to be top months of the year to list a home. So if you're thinking about it, keep that timeline in mind and reach out to our friend Wes Jones, sellwithwes.com, sellwithwes.com. He says he's really optimistic about 2025 for the housing market and definitely optimistic about seeing a boost in activity over 2024. Sellwithwes.com, a better way to sell your home. All right, some national news. I have very mixed feelings about this. We talked a lot on the show the other day about how Trump's strength, right? When you talk about peace through strength, that strength has to remain intact. And that means that when he says he's going to do something, he has to do it. Because the second you draw like Obama with the red line in the sand and then somebody crosses it and you're like, oh, it's okay, it's fine, just don't do it again, then you lose all of that strength. Like Biden, for instance. Nobody looked at Biden and said, that's a strong president. And that's why we had, the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. That's why we had the Hamas attack on Israel. That's why we had Russia's invasion into Ukraine, because the projection of strength matters. And so, Trump, for instance, with the tariffs, he threatened the tariffs. And when he didn't get what he wanted, he had to make good on the tariffs, whether you like it or not. I mean, the guy came out and he said, I'm going to do this. And so this really concerns me because I don't know what it means. And I always wonder, did Trump run this past someone or did he just post it? And if he just posted it, it kind of freaks me out. So he issued this, what he's calling a final warning to Hamas. He said, Shalom Hamas means hello and goodbye. You can choose. Release all of the hostages now, not later, and immediately return all of the dead bodies of the people you murdered, or it is over for you. Only sick and twisted people keep bodies, and you are sick and twisted. I'm sending Israel everything it needs to finish the job. Not a single Hamas member will be safe if you don't do as I say. I have just met with your former hostages whose lives you have destroyed. This is your last warning for the leadership. Now is the time to leave Gaza while you still have a chance. Also, to the people of Gaza, a beautiful future awaits, but not if you hold hostages. If you do, you are dead. Make a smart decision, release the hostages now, or there will be hell to pay later. Okay, so that's pretty strong. That's what we call projecting strength. But the issue, of course, is, well, what does he mean? That's not explained. What actions would the United States take, and what does now mean? There's not a lot of specificity there. So if Hamas doesn't release the hostages now, what is the United States going to do, and how quickly is the United States going to do it? Because there has to be a bite. If you're going to bark, there has to be a bite. And I'm not fully clear on what that is. I like the strength. I like him saying, do it now. I just know that he has to make good on something, or else he loses this peace through strength that he's trying to put forth. So I asked you guys in our daily subscriber show poll what you think about the ultimatum that the president put forth there. Nicole, do you agree with the ultimatum? Do you support the ultimatum as worded by the president?
Well, I think eventually it had to come to this. So I don't think that they were going to make any, concessions until there was a red line drawn, right? So I do think we're missing some of those details, but I'm pretty sure Hamas has them.
Okay.
So,
I like that.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, hopefully he keeps some things to the close to the vest, because he's very... So yeah, you would think Hamas has something, and I would hope that this has been run up the chain.
Right.
Not that there's a chain, but you're talking about Israel, so at least Bibi Netanyahu knows and was told before Trump did this.
Right.
Hey, I'm going to do this. Are you okay with it? Let's see. On Patreon, Carenza says this is just going to drag itself out. Will be good, hopefully, for some form of closure on how the Palestinians are really being treated. Why said, I support this. I would hate to have to send our troops, and I do not take it lightly. But now that he did say it, he needs to make good on that. If they should not comply, prayers it doesn't come to sending troops, though. Yeah, I don't know if that anybody wants to send American troops over there. And frankly, we have the technology to not need to if it just comes down to obliterating Hamas. And
I don't think that's what he's implying yet, just because he says I've armed them. So he's saying we've given them what they need. We'll let them go.
Let them do it, right? And I'm kind of thinking, well, have we not given them what they needed up to this point, or have you given them just Biden to sort of do it, right?
I don't think Biden did.
Yeah. Diego, hoping it is a threat that will work. I don't want to be involved in the Israel or Ukraine conflict any longer. Stacey, POTUS did say what he would do. He said he would send everything Israel needs to finish the job. Yeah, I guess I still see that as kind of vague. Like, what does that mean exactly? Mike, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. It's just also interesting, like the way, obviously Trump has kind of this way with words, which is just, bleh, and I agree with his statement wholeheartedly. Like, it is a very sick and twisted thing to keep dead bodies. It's just the way he says it, That's
what makes me think he did write it himself.
Oh, 100% he wrote that himself.
And I'm sure that it's because there was some other conversations going on. And I did see the video of him in the Oval Office with the hostages that were freed and
listening to their stories and how horrible it was for them. And
I'm sure that got him riled up.
Yeah. Weisscastle says, I don't love it, but you can't just have Americans being held hostage. Last American captive thought to still be alive is Eden Alexander. Captain Tom, Hamas's mission statement is to annihilate Israel. Look it up on Wikipedia. They do not want peace. You have to realize with whom you are dealing. Most of our leaders have turned a blind eye, and that certainly did not work. These people filmed their brutality in that October raid so others could see ultimatums, maybe the only thing they understand. Don't get me wrong. I want Hamas obliterated. 100%, not a single one of them alive. And frankly, any civilians who held hostages. Like, to me, and I understand the complexity of a situation where you're essentially being controlled by terrorists and you're worried for your life, etc. I mean, I don't know all the complexities of what's happening on the ground, but as Trump said, I mean, if you are a citizen and you have willfully been helping Hamas to keep these hostages for this long, a year and a half, then you're not an innocent civilian, quote unquote. Let's read one more. Dianamo, I had to vote no on this one. I don't like open-ended threats like this. What exactly do you mean by over for you? I am extremely tired of never-ending conflict and don't want to intervene all over this earth anymore. Yeah, I agree. But again, they took Americans. I mean, they took Americans. And so in that sense, I mean, it's not just that it happened to our allies. It happened to Americans as well. And so when terrorists hurt Americans, there should be a strong and swift response. And I would argue that it hasn't been strong enough and swift enough up to this point. Okay, can I make fun of Canada quick? Hey, if you're one of my, I'm half Canadian. I'm not going to make fun of all of you. It's hilarious to watch Canada in particular respond to the tariffs, knowing that they don't have the kind of ammunition and the kind of leverage. Mexico's been a little more quiet about things, but Canada's losing its mind. So there is this Canadian Premier Wab Kinew of Manitoba. And there's videos of this all over it happening too, where you see like a Canadian liquor store and they're videotaping themselves taking the American liquor off the shelves and wheeling it away. And this Canadian Premier signed an order to remove all American-made liquor from Canadian stores.
Okay, this order, it's a wonderful order. It's a beautiful order. This order is pulling American booze off the liquor mart shelves.
That they already paid for. You already paid to import that liquor. The retail stores, the liquor stores have already paid to purchase it, the wholesale value. So what do you accomplish by taking it off the shelves, except costing the liquor stores money? Like, you're not getting that money back that you paid to import it. It's yours. You own it now. So it's just so funny because it doesn't do anything for anybody. We're going to take off this stuff I already paid for. We already paid the import taxes on and put it away where? In the back shelf until this is all over and then you can trot it back out like nothing ever happened. It's genuinely hilarious.
I kind of want to go and see if that's what happens, though. I kind of want to go up to Canada in a couple weeks.
Your family's up by Canada. Yeah. You should go see if you can buy some American booze up there.
In a couple weeks, right? Maybe this week they took it down, but in a couple weeks, let's see if it's back up.
Well, you should just go across the border and find some sort of store, like a general store.
Oh, yeah.
And find things that were made in America. Whatever you can. Be like, why are you guys selling this? And see what they say. And just act like a Canadian. Excuse me. Why are you selling this?
Hey.
I was getting my Minnesota accent back on. All right, it is Thursday. That means it's time to go all the way to Florida and check in on what's happening in the Sunshine State with my sister Miranda. It is our segment, Florida Report.
It's not even controversial anymore. People know in Florida their freedoms are going to be respected.
Miranda, hello.
Hello.
I love Ron DeSantis dunking on the Canadians. We talked about it on the show this week. He's like, Canadians don't visit here unless they want to know what a winning hockey team looks like. Oh my God, he's brutal. It's nice.
He is. He's pretty brutal, but in such like a very like well-mannered way. Like he just like has really good comebacks, and I appreciate that about him.
Very calmly delivered one-liners. All right, yes. So Governor Ron DeSantis pushing legislation that would make vaccine mandate protections permanent in Florida. So what does that mean?
Yeah, so the vaccine mandates that he had put in place to keep Florida businesses running, to allow first responders to continue to do their job without being mandated to get the mRNA COVID vaccine.
Just to interrupt, like anti-mandates, not mandates.
Anti-mandates. Anti-mandates. They're actually coming to an end in June. So he's pushing the legislature to extend those permanently so that nobody would be forced to take the mRNA vaccine moving forward to do their jobs or conduct business.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because we already know how crazy jurisdictions can launch back into COVID nonsense for no reason. Like we have this story we've been covering about mask mandates for ballot observers. And it's like, okay, so at this point, just make them permanent because who knows when some liberal jurisdiction in Florida is going to say mandates again or something like that. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, this one is fun, which, first of all, these are very expensive. So a guy swallowed, Florida criminal, dumb Florida criminal story. A guy swallowed $770,000 worth of earrings from a Tiffany's. It was in Orlando. Now they're waiting for the earrings to pass.
Yeah, apparently. So he got caught in Orlando, but didn't get arrested in Orlando. The Tiffany store reported him to the police. The police reported him to the Florida Highway Patrol, who were on the lookout for him in his vehicle. And they ended up catching him in the Panhandle on his way back to Texas. And at that point is when he swallowed the earrings when they arrested him. And he kept making some comments like, I should have thrown them out the window. So I think they knew that he had eaten something. Yeah. And so when he got to the county jail, they scanned him with an x-ray and found foreign objects in his stomach believed to be the earrings he stole from Tiffany's. So they are waiting for them. There's no word on whether or not they've passed or not because this happened about a week or so ago. So I'm assuming, I would hope so. And you said this article was fun. I'm like, fun for who? Because
not for him.
Buy these earrings? Or for the person that's going to wind up unknowingly purchasing these earrings in the future.
That's the thing. So apparently he got them to lead him into a private room, to show him some more expensive pieces. It was 2 pairs of earrings and then a ring. And he gets them and takes off, and they were able to slap the ring out of his hand. But one of the pairs of earrings was valued at more than $500,000 alone. The other one at like $150,000 or something. And so, yeah, he takes off, gets in his car, he's on a chase. And then when he feels like he's caught, he swallows them. So you're not just going to say, like, chalk it up to, I guess we're not selling those earrings. They're washing those off. And they are selling them to someone. The question is there a fecal matter discount? And would you want it? I think if you're buying earrings that expensive, you want the pair that hasn't been out someone's back end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And who...
Non-digested earrings,
I have so many questions. Who has to go through his waste, his excrement? Because somebody has to do that.
I don't think it's foreign territory in jails and prisons for people to swallow contraband or stolen things.
Put it up their bum,
Yeah, so I think that process is probably something that's fairly normal. I think whoever has to do it is probably like, wow, I've never found diamonds in this job before.
Right? Or they'll be like, if I was the jail guard, I'd be like, weird, we keep checking it, but there's nothing in there. And then I just pocket them myself, maybe. But it's like, this is such a weird story. Seriously, what do you do with them after they come out? I know they have to go into evidence. Somebody's going to have to kind of hose them off. And then is Tiffany's going to resell them? That's what I want to know. Are they going to resell the diamonds?
I wonder if Tiffany's will have like an insurance thing that'll cover them, and then the police department gets to like auction them off, and they're like criminal, how they like sometimes do auctions for like whatever. I just hope they get at the very least reset them, take the diamonds out.
Yeah, take the diamonds out, rinse them off and then reset them into something new that wasn't inside the man's man. Yes. Yeah. Oh, good stuff.
I'm assuming we'll never know, so I'll probably give it a few years before I go to Tiffany's and buy $500,000 worth of jewelry.
I was going to, but I'll wait now. So, all right. Okay. Actually, if the discount is good enough, I'll buy these ones. If the discount is good enough, like let's say it's 99% off because it's been in a guy's colon, I'll buy them. I don't care. So, all right, Miranda, thank you.
Bye.
It's not even controversial anymore. People know in Florida their freedoms are going to be respected.
Real highbrow conversations here on Undivided. Nothing but the best conversations for all of you. I hope you're not eating lunch. All right, our friend Zach Abraham is having another one of his Know Your Risk live webinars coming up on March 20th. It is a first 100 days live webinar. So they're looking at the first 100 days of the Trump administration, as the webinar title suggests. So obviously there's been a lot happening, from the tariffs, what's happening domestically, internationally. All these things can impact your retirement portfolio. And so they're going to talk about that, the intersection between what the White House is doing and your retirement portfolio. They'll also do a long-term outlook for 2025 and a full reveal of how Bulwark is always looking for opportunities to lower risk, lower cost, and give your retirement as much upside as possible. After all, you only get one retirement, so why not run it through a Department of Retirement Efficiency with Zach Abraham and his team? So sign up for Zach's first 100 Days webinar, Thursday, March 20th, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, totally free to sign up. And these are super casual. You can go on, you can passively listen, you can ask questions if you want. KnowYourRiskRadio.com, KnowYourRiskRadio.com. And don't forget to check out Zach and I's weekly show, Doge Watch. We have a lot of fun putting it together. We just dropped a new episode last night across platforms. So KnowYourRiskRadio.com. Okay, let's get to some comments. First, I feel bad I missed this one, and so I've got to go back. Our dedicated subscriber, Brandon Ferris, celebrated his birthday, and he's in Hawaii, but still listening. 35th birthday. Younger than me. I guess I'm over. Am I 36 now? Carry the 2. Yeah. Oh. No, it's fine. So you get the treatment. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Great contribution, Nicole. Happy birthday, dear Brandon. Happy birthday to you. Great job. Actually, that's nice. Yeah. Let's see. Baron of Gray Matter. Mail-in voting needs to be abolished. Nothing will change in Washington until this happens, period. You cannot dispute this. Stop being lazy. Am I lazy? Because I like mail-in voting. I like mail-in voting because I am lazy. But I think it's kind of a lazy thing for Republicans to blame their losses on mail-in voting. I don't know that would quite turn things around for you. There's a lot of other issues that need to be dealt with, like the quality of your candidates that you put forth. But, George Collada, Brandi, you are spot on about the cost in this poor excuse of a state. Yeah, and it's like you're paying all these things, and then even in a budget crisis, they're pushing forward a bill to give double murderers free rent when they get released from prison early. Okay. Greg McNeely, pray for us Washingtonians. We are losing our parental rights, gun rights, and Transformers are invading our Transformers. I've never heard them called Transformers. Transformers are invading our girls' and women's safe spaces. I like that phrase. I might start to use that phrase. Andrew Reed. Hello, Andrew. Going on strike is a group on strike. As a group is designed for making more money. No unemployment benefits for striking parties. Must use union money. Yeah, and a lot of the unions have strike funds. I mean, I remember running into a Boeing worker when they were on strike, and it was not a lot, but that's the incentive, right? To come to some sort of middle ground and get back to work. And if we're sitting here paying you, it's insane. It doesn't make sense at all. Let's see. Janelle, Bellingham and the surrounding area used to be so Christian and conservative when I was growing up, 80s and 90s. Have no idea at what point it became so far left, but it's mind-blowing to me. I don't know, Nicole, you tell us, because you're from up there.
I know, but it has become very, very far left.
Is Blaine, because you're from Blaine.
They're pretty left. They're pretty left. Okay. I think more so now than they were, but then they're a little more balanced. And then as you get closer to Bellingham, it gets more and more. I mean, Ferndale, Blaine kind of stay in this, and actually Linden too. So I guess it's one of those situations where Bellingham is kind of our Seattle up there, where it just kind of outweighs the rest of us.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time literally going to people's homes in Ferndale and Linden. We did this fun thing one day. I was up there for an event, so that following day was a Sunday, and I spent time, we were helping Dave Reichert's campaign, bringing signs personally to people's homes. Had a freaking blast doing it, and it did not seem like a very liberal area. So yeah, as soon as you get out of Bellingham, it's back to the good old country.
Kinda,
so yeah, I met a ton of cool people. Milky, my girlfriend's brother, got a degree from WWU in linguistics and now works... So, I don't mean to laugh at the job. It's a fine job, but it's just funny. Well, got a degree at WWU in linguistics and now works as a kitchen manager.
Which you don't need the degree for, is what I'm saying.
Because they do that. They sell you on these degrees that you're not going to be able to find a career in.
They also have a whole school, the Fairhaven School of WWU, that they don't grade. It's pass or fail.
What is the Fairhaven School
you can
teach?
You can get a environmental degree. It's a very, very woke-ish.
Yeah, whenever I think of these, like a degree like linguistics, I think of someone who watched National Treasure too many times and thinks that they'll help decode some ancient hieroglyph and find an ancient treasure. Like, what is it? That's what I think of.
I know.
It's like you watch the movies too much.
Yeah. At some point there, you're taking these classes that you think are fun, and are they really going to help you make more money? What's your goal from college? If your goal is to make more money, then those are not the routes.
And it might not be your goal.
That might not be your goal.
And that's fine too. I don't know that everybody goes to the college or to a trade school with the intention of like, I want to find a job where I'm going to make the most amount of money. I went for journalism. It worked out well for me, but there's a lot of jobs in journalism that don't pay anything.
But also remember, you've got to pay that back because that Biden gonna take away your loan thing didn't work out very well.
Yeah,
and so
it did for some people,
I guess.
Me.
But I think that you have to go into it knowing you're going to go really in debt, and you better come out of it making some money to be able to pay that back. And this next comment is really funny because it's true, because I checked it.
Oh my gosh. So speaking of no education, so Carol Johnson noticed something in a graphic we put up on the show. WWU's LGBTQ plus research studies misspelled the word opportunities. Perhaps they need to include LGBTQ plus basic English classes.
Opportunities.
Oh no.
We missed it.
Good eye, Carol. Good eye, Carol. Yeah. Well, we know that's true. They're putting academics, and I love how that says academics. It's like, okay, is queer studies really an academic endeavor? I don't think so. You need to learn how to spell. Matthew Cook, I identify as Earl Grey. I don't get what that means, but
the trans T.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's funny. Good one. Yes, the trans tea. It's like a nice minty tea, and it identifies as an Earl Grey. You guys are funny. Justice. Just more. I love that name, Justice, by the way, spelled G-U-S-T-A-S. Really such a good name. Just more of Washington State excusing the actions of criminals while the rest of us pay for it. Exactly. Matt Gilbert. This explains why Brandi thinks she has done a Q&A in January. The concussions must be acting up. First of all, my concussions are no joke. I've had multiple, as you know.
I think he's giving him validity there.
And sometimes I am forgetful and search for words. I know I have not done a February live Q&A with subscribers. I'm aware of it. I feel badly about it. I'm doing one on Sunday. So we're having a subscriber live Q&A on Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. But Matt is telling me we didn't do one in January. And I think we did one right before the legislative session. So I disagree. I think we can go back and look, but I disagree that we didn't do one right before the legislative session.
I feel like it
Aren't
might
you
have
the
been
producer?
December's.
Who's the producer here?
Well, yeah, but
who is
the show,
nope.
not the extra
Who is the executive
Q&A?
producer of Undivided?
you
I'm waiting.
Up for that.
Who is the executive producer of Undivided? I'm waiting.
Yeah,
who is it?
For show stuff.
Oh, so
that'd be me.
I can't blame you for missing Q&As occasionally.
If you have a question, feel free to ask. We'll answer.
I will call you. If you're mad about it, I will call you personally. I will pick up the phone and I will call you.
Don't do that.
All right. Good comments per the usual. With that, let's get to our closing sanity check. So, let's just give everyone a clean slate. We had the shenanigans at the State of the Union where people couldn't behave like adults and they acted up. So I'm just really glad that, Congress came back. They're having hearings on various things like immigration. And I'm glad that they all just sat down and decided, okay, let's act like the proper adults we are.
I have an internet.
You have what?
Mr. Chair, can I have several articles. I need to enter them. Let me just go ahead with what the articles are. What they speak to.
What's the next article?
Let me proceed. Data from Texas shows that U.S.-born Americans
that
commit more rape and murder than immigrants.
Listen, this trend of you all trying to get thrown out of committee so you can get on MSNBC is going to end. We're not going to put up with it.
This is my procedural right as a member of this committee.
You can go with Mr. Frost and Mr. Green.
I'm reclaiming my time.
That's what you want. No. Ms. Presley, I have been very accommodating to you. Mr. Sobriano,
and I take particular umbrage as a survivor of sexual violence. I will enter into the record. This is my right. Thank you.
No.
Thank you. No, no,
thank you.
Like I said, they learned their lesson. Now they're all mature children. Great. That has been your sanity check for today. That has been today's episode of Undivided. A few housekeeping items. We will have a new episode of Politics Unpacked coming up tomorrow. We will then have an episode of Sundays with Subscribers on Sunday. And then we will have a live subscriber Q&A Sunday evening. Did I get it all?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that has been a delightful week of Undivided. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for your commitment to giving Common Sense a comeback, for having fun with us. I was at an event today, and that's what people kept saying. Your show is so fun. I said, I think we do have fun. We are serious when we need to be serious. It's a lot of shenanigans and crazy stuff happening. We call it out. But like I always say, you gotta have fun, or it would just be a really depressing show to watch every single day. So sign up to support our show if you haven't already. It's just $5 a month, and we make it super easy. You just go to undividedpod.com, and you click on the red button that says support the show for $5. And that's it, or more than $5 if you so choose. Thank you for being here. Non-subscribers, I'll see you back here on the live show Monday at noon.